I'm your host, Aaron Weedman. This is a show that we'll be having multiple episodes of it, so stay tuned for more. Tonight, my guest tonight is Mr. Rick Daniels. He is the president of BSU. He's also involved in some other organizations on campus, so welcome, Rick.
Thank you.
And also, to my left, my co-host, Sarah Campo, and she's involved in Whitewater Student Government and amongst other things. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
No problem.
The first thing I wanted to talk about tonight was sort of politics in the media. I thought, well, I'll start with Rick. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, politics in the media is a very catchy issue because the media is a big part of why politics is so big, I believe. If you think back to even the early days of the media, it was always involving some type of politic or anything on that issue. And so I think it really came to a head with me when I watched a documentary. I'm not sure what the documentary was called, but it was about Fox News. And I watched it in my mass communication class, and they were talking about how Fox News really helped push the Bush-Cheney campaign in 2000 and 2004. And so when I watched that, then I started doing a little bit more study on politics and media and the relationship that they have together. So I think it's a pretty big relationship as far as.
Yeah, well, you can look back to the 1960 election. TV, that was the first, where TV was more popular.
Yeah.
Nixon was sort of going in as the favorite there, and then Kennedy was obviously much more telegenic. Mm-hmm. So he won the election, and I think Fox News had a big part to do with the last two elections. Sarah, would you like to?
Well, just kind of summing off of Nixon and Kennedy, the pure fact that Nixon was much more of a intellectually wise, better off candidate, but it kind of makes the more how certain candidates, if you look better on camera, if you speak well, speak better, it kind of emphasizes kind of those negative issues towards a candidate, and it really, those are things that a viewer will watch and they will be like, oh, this person looks better, speaks well, mm-hmm. and they might be more apt to vote for them when really, just because someone doesn't do well on TV, they're, less apt to vote for them. That's really not, a positive thing to pick your vote off of.
And not to mention the image factor.
Exactly.
America is very big on image. And when you have somebody like Kennedy, I mean, he was a very handsome, well-put guy. He spoke mm-hmm. very well on television. I mean, as you said, he was very telegenic as opposed to Nixon, who was a little bit shorter, mm-hmm. Kind of stockier. And when it comes down to it, people will vote for the person who looks better just because they look better, not even because they know the issues. I mean, that goes back to even in high school mm-hmm. when you're, running for, student council or something like that. So right. That ties into the relationship between media and politics as well.
I remember reading something about the last, I forget how many elections, but it was a ridiculous amount. The tallest candidate has always won. And I always thought that was kind of interesting, and TV sort of enforces that. Let's talk about Barack Obama.
I just don't mean to cut you off. In the last election, I don't think that counted. Kerry was a taller person.
Kerry towered over Bush in the last one.
I just had to throw the joke in.
You're right there. I believe I read that before 2004.
Okay.
My mistake. Well, Kerry was kind of an exception to the rule.
That's another story.
But do you think Barack Obama is a media creation? Everyone was sort of getting on the bandwagon, and it was sort of fueled by the media. Do you think that that his candidacy was brought on by the media, or do you think that, maybe he would have waited another 4 years to run, or do you think that the media was hyping him up? Is that why he decided to run, or?
Well, Barack Obama, let's not forget that he is a great speaker. Mm-hmm. And he is a tall, handsome guy. And so when you have that type of person running for president, it goes back to what we were talking about before. People will vote for them on those bases. I think he's more than qualified for the job. I think he's got great aspirations and he's got a great plan for America. But at the same time, both of those play a part. He does have a good image, he has a clean background, and he is a well put together person. When you have that combination, it's very hard to find something to pin on someone. And you know how it is in elections. If they don't find something on you now, they're going to find something on you later, soon enough. Right. And so I think he has a good combination with him right now.
Well, what do you think about when they were talking about how he's not, he doesn't have the African American vote because he wasn't, descended from slaves. His father was from Kenya. Do you think that'll have any bearing on the election, or?
Well, you know what? I don't know if he won't have the African American vote for two reasons. Simply because he's black, and because most blacks vote for the Democratic candidate. So being a black Democratic candidate who is potentially a front runner, like he is now, I don't think there's any way he can have the black vote. I mean, he's still going to have to convince African Americans why he should be a good president, because I don't believe that we're just going to go out and vote. But at the same time, there are some people who are just going to vote for him because he's black. I mean, that's
So
real.
you don't buy that he's not part of the And I think this is funny when people were talking about it, they're like, oh, he's not an African American because he's from Africa, which I thought was kind of funny. That that's the way they said it too. But so you don't think that because he's not descended from slaves, that he's not of their culture or whatever you want to say it, you don't think that that'll have any bearing at all, or?
Well, you know what, man, no matter how good you are, no matter what you do, people will always find something wrong with you. And that's it. And it's a shame to say that even black people or all people would really do that to their own people. And so when it comes down to it, someone's going to find some type of flaw. Al Sharpton said something about him in the media. I can't remember what it was, but he just recently made a pretty foul comment about Barack Obama. I think he's got more supporters than people who are not supporting him. So I think it's looking pretty good for him.
Well, let's talk about the upcoming election as long as we're on that. What candidates are you supporting?
It's kind of up in the air still.
Who are you excited about though? Like,
honestly, Tommy Thompson.
Tommy Thompson?
I think he did great things for the state of Wisconsin, and I've read a little bit background on him of what he, what his kind of plan is and what his mission is, and I think he's got a great chance. Especially, I mean, he had overwhelming votes for running for Wisconsin. And I think that we're typically we vote democratically, so I think if the Republicans they have that they would most likely win the state of Wisconsin, which would be very could be win or lose for the election. But otherwise, I think Mitt Romney's got a really good backing. I think he's got a lot of potential, and he looks like right now. I think he's one of the main front runners for Republican.
It's so hard to say right now because the Republican field is just so wide open. I mean, there's however 20-some candidates who are it's really tough to say at this point.
It'll
People
be
are just
incredibly
popping up.
interesting. Yeah, and it's just I feel as though people are like, okay, I'll run for like it just doesn't seem as though they're taking it as serious as they really should be, because I just feel like I'm hearing names left and right, and you gotta kind of pay attention to who's this week is running, and,
Right.
or creating the committee to look at if they're gonna run. But.